Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Joyce and I'm here to inspire you, to encourage you and to motivate you to live your best life. And today I've got a really nice topic which I thought would be a good point of this discussion, but also just food for thought really, which is what this channel is about. It's about actually giving you those tips and ideas that you might want to take away, unpack a little bit, see if it fits in your life or not, and then use it for your best, I guess for making the best out of your life. Because I think when we take from other people, we get to be a little bit more focused on what we're doing, but also quite niche in terms of the challenges that we're facing. So I'm hoping that if you come to my channel, you'll be able to pick up tips and ideas that will help you really make those decisions that you need to make. Now, today is about actually owning the decisions you make. We live in a world where there's a lot of abandoning of responsibilities and roles and also decision making. You hear a lot, and even recently there's been a really high profile sort of couple, and they got divorced after what would be 10 years. But initially the whole drive was, God made me wait for this person. 10 years I've been celibate and I was waiting for her, and vice versa. For her, I was waiting for him, and it felt right, and I was in that moment and God told me this is going to be my partner for life, and in her words, my husband for life, and the same for him. And so and then to see that for me was a bit, oh, okay, then God's messed up again. Or is it? That's not to say that we won't make decisions. And that's the whole idea. I mean, we could go down the route of who is God and what does that mean, but we're not going to get into that. This is based on the idea that there is a man in heaven that looks down and makes all the decisions for you. And if you don't listen, he makes you do, he punishes you. Whether I believe on that or not is a different ball game. But let's go with that for a minute, because I think that's the premise of it. So what then does it mean when we then have this decision that we believe that God had made us do it, or we were so convicted and convinced by that we then end up making such a mistake and on such a platform? I mean, we all make mistakes. That's part of life. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we become who we are. And I think really for the more mature person, I think we all know that life isn't always a bed of roses. So it's about how we cope with those challenges. But I think the point of this video is really to encourage you to own your mistakes. Your parent doesn't have to tell you to do it. Your partner doesn't have to tell you to do it. And God certainly doesn't have to tell you to do it in order for you to tell other people or be convicted by it. We have to be willing to put ourselves on the altar, as it were, of that decision making. So if you want to do something, if you want to go for a job that you feel other people may not approve of, or if you want to fly or go to a country that other people may not necessarily agree with you, or for example, you want to, take the jab or not take the jab, we have to be able to say, I am making this decision because I feel this is the right one for me at this time. Now, whether that works out to be right in the end doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, because I think we would not be who we are if it wasn't for the mistakes that we make. Now, with that in mind, we have to be willing to say, I made that mistake, I made that decision, and I wanted to make it because it works for me. And to be honest, you don't really need to explain yourself to anybody. You could see and do, be silent and go about your business and be okay with this. And this is what I'm really encouraging you to do with your life. You really don't have to explain to anybody the decisions you're making for your life. The only person you owe that explanation to is yourself. So when you come to a decision making for your best interest, you have to go conclusively that you've weighed the pros and the cons, and now you're making a decision because it's right for you. God doesn't have to tell you to do it. It doesn't even have to make sense to anybody. And that's one of the things that for any adult, if I would tell you one thing in life, is that it only needs to make sense to you. Now, we live in a world where we're looking for approval for other people, and I've been there. I'm that person, always looking for approval for your family, looking for people who are your tribe to really, and that's what we do most of the time. We go to people that we think when we make our decisions, it's not going to look too odd for them because they kind of think the way we do. And I think that's all good because you start in a place where, you want people to, really approve of what you're making, particularly if you've been brought up in a place where everyone's been very, very safe. So you want to go out with people that don't think like you and you want to think like, the idea of role modeling. And that's really helpful. But I think you've got to come to a place where whatever decision you're making, you're fully confident that it is your decision and it is also your right to make a mistake, to fail, to regroup and refocus and get back on the horse again. So I'd like to encourage you that this week, as you go into the new year, to really focus on your decisions and be firm with your decision making. Don't be afraid to make a decision that you will look back and think, that wasn't so much of a good decision or a wise decision. But you know what? It makes you wise because you know what not to do in the future. It develops character in you. And other people will think of you, actually, this is a person who's not willing to say no to themselves and is willing to take on those challenges that other people are afraid to do. Not because you're any better, but because you are saying yes to yourself or no in whatever case, because, you don't always have to say yes unless you've been somebody who always says no. So my point is this: be willing to make decisions, good or bad, and to own them. Because that's the only way to learn. That's the only way to grow. Now, that's not to say that we cannot learn from other people. And I'm a really massive proponent of learning from others. If I can look at your life and know what not to do, I'm going to follow it. But ultimately, there's this idea also that if I want to go for something that is not quite seasoned in, other people around me or within myself, I have to be willing to say, I made that decision. And whether it works for you or not, that's okay too, So don't be afraid. Don't be willing. It doesn't have to be God's fault that you made a mistake. It doesn't have to be, God doesn't have to tell you something in order for you to do it. You need to be able to say, this feels right for me. And this is why I'm doing it. And as I said earlier, you don't need to explain yourself to anybody. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. And if you're doing it, you must be willing to say, yes, this is my bag and I'm owning it. And equally, I don't need to tell you anything and I don't have to justify myself to you. I just need to do it for myself. So today's takeaway is be willing to make mistakes. Be willing to own the mistakes and don't be afraid to make them. All the best. I hope that's been helpful to you. Take good care and I'll see you very soon. Bye.